just getting straight into it. Could you give us a little intro on ATS, Applied Talent Solutions? Just let us know what you're all about and a little bit about yourself, please.
Sure. So I've spent almost 20 years in recruitment, and I've been fortunate enough to work for companies like Microsoft, LinkedIn, Tesla, leading global talent programs. In 2024, at the beginning of 2024, I spun that experience into Applied Talent Solutions, into ATS. So we're a boutique, small headhunting firm based here in Kingston. We deliver consultative, outcome-focused recruitment across tech, data center construction, and GTM sales.
How long have you guys been running? Since 2020?
Started in the first working day of 2024.
First working day.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. Was this like a resolution, like a New Year's resolution?
It was and something that dawned on me at the end of 2023. So when I was at Tesla, and I was contemplating, do I want to continue to work for a big organization, especially one as polarizing as Tesla?
Yeah.
And I think that is really what motivated me to leave Tesla and then spend the next couple of, I was paid up to the end of December, but I left just a little bit before that. I spent the last month or so setting up the business, and then January I took off.
It's such an interesting story and change, because people around you must have thought, leaving such a big position, such a globally known company, they must have thought you were, what was the reaction like?
No, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I had people telling me that that it was the best thing I could have done and that I would smash it. And that always sort of confused me a little bit, because there's no guarantees in this at all. To make a successful recruitment business in what was, and probably even in hindsight still is, the worst recruitment market that we've ever seen, definitely in my life. I was definitely questioning what my choices in life at that point, thinking, is this the right time to do it? But I thought, if I can get a business going in this environment, then and things get good, my business will be ready to expand rapidly.
In terms of like business development and lead generation, we were touching on how there's a big workload. What was that looking like for you before we actually crossed paths?
So I built my business on the back of my network. So that's how I started. So I've got a massive network of people I've worked with and I've been involved with. So I was very fortunate enough to be able to hit my network at the beginning. The business development after that was, it was just terrible, because I was using a tool called Apollo, and I was building lists and I was firing out automated emails to try and speed things up, and that got me absolutely nothing at all. I think I got one client call out of a lot of outreach. So, and just the effort of setting that up and then getting that out there, it was just business development at that point was not really happening. It was just, and I ended up stopping using Apollo because it was just not doing anything for me.
What do you think went wrong there?
Being the list building,
the
initial list building. I mean, that was probably where it was. I started off having being a little bit perhaps too open with what I was firing for. I was really itching to get emails going, and so it was probably also not spending the time to understand the tool as well, because I had a couple of really big clients and I was delivering. So, I had to speak, to my clients, I had to speak to candidates, and I was going through, and the roles that I hire for, these are roles which are paying, minimum 140, 150,000 a year. So you've got, and these, it's a very transient population of candidates. So they tend to move a lot, and in that case, also a lot of them, I couldn't submit anybody who had already previously applied for a job with one of my clients. So there was a lot of work with that. So I had all of this focus on that, on the delivery side, and then I was trying to squeeze in, business development somewhere around that, and then just, my patience isn't my strong point, right? I tend to make a decision and I just go with it. I move fast on it. I'm about outcomes. So
I think especially as a one-man band, though, you don't have the luxury of time. What would you say the main thing was that you're struggling with?
Time, and also that list building side of things, and spending the time to actually go through and build the list. That's probably the two biggest time.
And then what about like the way that you were reaching out to people? Was it with emails? Was it with LinkedIn? Was it with calls? What were you doing for that?
I was sending emails out to them. I wasn't calling at all. Now I know that from a traditional BD outreach, like what you guys might do, or what other companies do, calling is probably better. Also from a traditional recruiter side of things, they probably would be calling as well. I didn't do that. I guess I probably had a slight reluctance to it, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I mean, there are different skill sets, right? Like that, the sales side of things and then the delivery side of things. There are different skill sets.
Yeah.
And we often meet. I mean, even if you didn't have a reluctance towards it, right? It is like so time consuming actually doing your competitors doing about 100 to 200 dollars a day. Do you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
takes a lot of time. Okay, cool. So let's talk about with the work that we've done recently. In terms of so the reason we're on this call, new meeting booked in, I think a couple of weeks back now, or last week, with a client that's doing like 500 million annual revenue, so half a billion in annual revenue. Just want to know your thoughts around it. How did that go? How did you feel when you sat the meeting, and when you actually, how did you feel when the meeting came in? Did you know it was going to be that big?
Yeah, so when the meetings come through, the first thing I do is go to their website and have a look at who they are, what they do, what sort of projects they have, what sort of roles they're hiring for. So I get a really quick understanding of, is this person, is this company in my wheelhouse? As soon as I saw them, I knew that this was exactly the type of business that I want to be involved with. A business that large doesn't just work with one or two recruiters. Usually, they will have a PSL, a list of recruiters who they work with, and they generally have a particular process. Now, I'm very familiar with that, not only from my point of view, because I work with a company which is actually bigger than this already, but also being on the other side and setting these relationships up with recruiters on a PSL for Microsoft and LinkedIn and so forth when I've done that there, and also Cognizant. So how did I feel when it came through? Look, I thought it was great. I thought this was exactly what I was looking at. This was exactly who I wanted to speak to, and it was smack bang bullseye.
Well, how did it go? How did the meeting go? As in, like, were they aware of you, aware of what you're doing? Was it straightforward? How did that go?
Okay. So how the meeting went. So they had a little bit of an understanding of what I did. I believe they understood that I was a construction specialist. So, but in the opening of the call, I gave them a quick overview of who I am, what I do, sort of my 1 minute elevator pitch type thing to give them an overview of who I am and what I do. Yeah. So that made it clear, and also I went through some of the roles that I hire for, because I've already got the locations they work in and the type of roles they fill. And the projects they work on is exactly what I already am currently in. I've already got candidates in that space, so I'll let you know that.
Just on that specific one, what kind of impact does sit in a meeting or get a client like that have on your business?
Okay, so look, I mean, first of all, I'll say I'm really comfortable in those situations, because that's what I've been doing for years, working with people at that companies that size. So I'm not, perhaps someone who isn't used to that might be a little bit, have imposter syndrome, or be a little bit sort of, not sure how to work. I'm very comfortable.
No, that happens a lot. Yeah, that happens to people a lot.
Yeah, I just feel like these are my people. This is the sort of companies I want to work with, and that's just, I'm very, very comfortable in that sort of scenario or that meeting. Impact on the business. These are sort of the blue chip clients that make your business successful. You can build an entire business on one of these clients pretty much, because you're bringing in, an average fee of 20, 25K every hire. Now, this is not like shelling peas. These candidates you're looking for at that sort of level in construction, it's very, very challenging to find them. Right, you need to be able to deliver. This is where I go back to what I was saying before about the BD and 360-degree stuff, and not being. If you get someone who just cannot deliver, you will fail miserably at this. But for me, I'm all about delivery, right? So for me, this here combined with my other major client that I've got in this space, that's a business builder. Yeah, I mean, this is that's what it means to me in my business.
Nice. So I wanted to ask, right, in terms of with us, how is it having a lead gen arm like us as a one man band?
It allows me to focus purely on delivery and on meeting, and also obviously the new clients that come. So yes, it allows me to focus on delivering on that side of things, which is what I want to do. So that's what I'm good at.
What did you expect the relationship to go like this? How did you expect? Is it going as you expected?
Look, okay, perhaps it is. One of the things that I'm impressed with, I'll say this, is that the level of I guess collaboration. I think that's a really good thing. one of the reasons why I chose you guys were because you were a new startup. I think guys started after I did.
Mhm.
So that was one of the reasons why, I saw an opportunity for two young companies to grow together. Yeah. So I could use you and then give you guys business, and you guys can give me business, and then that would be a symbiotic relationship.
Mhm. Mhm. And in terms of, I know we had a bit of a slow start right at the beginning, and that happens sometimes. But in terms of I wanna know, what was the defining moment that you realised that it's actually working?
It was when I got perhaps that meeting with that large €500 million construction client. That was
Mhm.
probably where it was. When I started getting leads which were in my wheelhouse,
Mhm.
that was probably when I thought, because the reality is that one placement would pay for the 3 months that we've been together.
Yeah,
One placement would. So I always was quite realistic with the return on investment.
for sure. And I just wanted to also ask, how has your day-to-day evolved since working with us?
My day-to-day has been the the removal of stress that I would feel about, even if I wasn't doing business development, just the fact that I knew that in the back of my mind I had to do it, and where
Mhm.
my next client was going to come from, and the stress associated with that was, and being able to disassociate myself from that, and to think, there's someone looking after that for me. I don't have to worry about that anymore. I can just focus on delivery. That I was able to stay beeline on what I need to do to make my money, because at the end of the day, business development is not my skill set, right?
Yeah, for sure. And the final thing I wanted to ask, right, was what would you say to another person in your position, like a one-man band that was feeling a bit stuck, with BD, and they're interested but maybe nervous to invest in a service like us?
Yep. I would say definitely. I would say do it. That's the overall takeaway that I would give. One placement should, even a low-level placement, should cover the return on investment, right? I
Hmm.
think so. That really shouldn't be it should be a no-brainer. I think it's really important to know when the right time is to invest in a certain thing in your business, because pinching pennies on something like this, but when you're building a business, you need to really, I think, focus and niche. And I don't mean niche into an area, like into a sector of business. I think niching in your skill set and what you actually deliver. So, I deliver. That's what I do. I deliver outcomes, and I build strong relationships. Getting those relationships is not my wheelhouse. And then by doing that, I'm taking away from what I'm good at. And so I think from another person in my perspective, who was thinking about doing this now, I would say this is an investment in building your business. I am very, very glad that when I made the decision to come with recruitment revenue that I did. And I'm glad that now I'm starting to see more, relevant, meetings that are coming through. And then, and also the ability for me to close those has been quite high. So
Yeah. I think it should also be stated that with us, it wasn't that smooth sailing to begin with, right? But you stuck by us. You stuck by us. You had patience, and you collaborated with us. And now we're really starting to see the value, and I think we're growing further and further, because I think that's another misconception, that it's going to be a hit straight away, right?
yeah,
And life just doesn't go like that sometimes. But I think the great thing about our collaboration is that despite the shortcomings in the beginning, we stuck to it, kept going, and now we're really grinding out much better needs, and I can just see us improving and improving.
in this situation, I think it's a matter of working together. You've got to be realistic and say, are we going to hit a 6 on the first ball of the innings? And the answer is no, you're not going to. You need to get your eye in. So I think it's a case of, tweaking and being, and getting things right at the beginning, and being transparent, communicating
100%.
that. Yeah. And then, I'm always very transparent, and you guys were, impressed me with your transparency, where when things weren't going as well as perhaps they could have been, there wasn't any bullshit that was thrown at me. I wasn't lied to. And I'm just like a lot of recruiters. I've got a pretty well developed bullshit detector. I was really appreciated the honesty, and then we were able to work on it and move forward.
Yeah, we just want to, yeah, to be honest, we just want to get you a return, and really just get you, especially with one man bad, we just want to give that boost that you need, because you're so stretched for time in your position. So we just want to give you the boost you need. But yeah, thank you so much, Simon. I know we're overrunning now onto your time, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No, that's
Yeah.
fine.